page 25. For some reason, they call the chapter "There is a Solution." Ideas and emotions of these people have changed. The idea, page, just go to, you know what? Let me just quickly do that. Page 25. This is spiritual awakening. You get that through this prayer meditation, step 11. But here we go. I have it right here. So let me read that one. If you got your big book there, go to page 25. And it tells you what happened. This is being in the solution. For some reason, why do they call the chapter "There is a Solution"? I don't know. Maybe somebody that could tell me. So anyway, it says that, and right in italics on page 25, it says "There is a Solution." And this has to do with that prayer meditation, what Bill was talking about, that change. Here is that Bill had that spiritual experience. When Bill came in on page 8 in the big in his story, he talks about quicksand was all around him. Let's start with that on page 8, and then we could go right into the solution. This is the way a lot of us feel every day, we come, especially when we first come in. On page 8, in the first paragraph, it says, "No words can tell the loneliness and despair I found in the bitter morass of self-pity." What word is in there? Self. When we're upset, we're thinking about what? When we're upset, we're thinking about who or what? Okay, think about that. Of self-pity. Quicksand stretched all around me in all directions. I had met my match. I had been overwhelmed. Alcohol was my master. Food is your master. People are your master. Do you want to be free? People sitting, I said this the last meeting, people are in solitary confinement are more free than you are. If you're thinking about people and how to, what they said to you, what we think about most, we're making a higher power. It's the food. You want to get out of the food addiction? People say, well, Bob, why, a lot of times I do bring up the food and I'll show like an apple, I'll show the water, and I'll talk about the diseases and the problems and the additives in food. I mean, I got all of that stuff. I've done that for years, right? But the problem is that that's not where the answer is. This solution, if you have a food addiction, if you have an alcohol addiction, people addiction, the answer isn't here. And when we get centered, pray and meditate. But this is what happened, and there is a solution. It says, the leavening of our self-pride, confession of shortcomings, which the process requires for a successful consummation. That's on page 25. And there's a solution. For some reason, they call it that. But we saw that it really worked in others. Well, I could tell you right now, look, a lot of people very skeptical. They come into these meetings and when I go to meetings and when I would share like what I'm talking about now, people, when I leave the meeting in the parking lot or whatever, they'd say, "Hey, Bob, there are people in here with real problems." They would use the word real. They got real problems, right? And I heard their real problems. When I went to meeting and I talked about my problem, I made it real. If I told you I had a problem with my mother-in-law, I'm making it real by actually voicing that. Right? Do you get it? When more we talk about our problems, we're making them real. They're not real. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. It's just a false premise. We went on this ego and the self. That's where all the devastation and anger comes from. If we're out of the self, what do we care what our mother-in-law did? Our spouse or the boss at work, we could just sit there and smile. Or if, like I said, the political situation, the physical ailments around us now, what does it matter? Their joy and happiness comes. Look, if I want to do something about something, I'll go get in my car and I'll go somewhere and I'll do it. But until then, I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to let the world and what goes on around me control me. And even in a bad situation, I'm going to be happy. If some reason I get sick, if I'm ready to die, that's death. They say is a cycle of life. It's your attitude towards it. Say you rest in peace. At the party, a lot of people think the party starts up there. So it's all in the mind. It's all it is thinking. If you're depressed, upset now, anxious, whatever the heck you are, it's because your thinking is off. It has nothing to do. We all look on the outside, as I said here. We're looking for the answer outside of us. Where have you lost your happiness is the topic here. So we're out there looking. We're going around looking at people and situations, more money, more success, getting people to like us. That's what we're looking at to become happy. That's what we're doing. So anyway, let's finish the spiritual awakening here. Oh, okay. But it goes on to say, let me go ahead because I'm taking up too much time here. We found much of heaven. We have been rocketed. That's the next paragraph in the fourth dimension of existence. Believe me, it's true. Right now, if you want to be rocketed into joy, blissfulness, and happiness, it's all in your perception. The steps. We were powerless. Step 2 said we had to be restored to sanity. 3, give your life. That's what we're talking about here. Let me get back to that quickly. And then I'm going to read the last paragraph on step 11 in the 12 and 12, the AA 12 and 12, where Bill really sums it up. And here it is. So with everything you said, if you brought it in your heart and you'll have that change of perception today. Look, during the day, just think about what we're saying here, because it's the truth. Again, if you're unhappy, you're in the self. The self is made up of your parents told you to be successful. I don't know. People told you. You look at all the famous people, the world, and the money and the success. They're unhappy because they need more and more of that. And you've got to feel sorry for them, because this is the way they relate to life. I'm telling you, if anybody's relating to life, even have $1 billion, a lot of billionaires kill themselves on their yachts, because the happiness just doesn't come from there. Momentary, but it brings more devastation. I could say if I took a drink of alcohol right now, I haven't had a drink of alcohol like in about over 8.5 years. But if I took a drink now, it would make, I would say, and I have to say, make me happy. If I had a big plate of food for about 8 years, I've eaten a certain whole food plant-based diet. If I had a big plate of goopy food with all kinds of stuff in it, I might momentarily, if I went to a fast food place. But I don't even want that anymore. 10-step promises. I'm in the position of neutrality. You know why? Because when you have this God consciousness and you feel good about spiritual bread, and you feel good, why would I want to destroy my spirituality by taking synthetic spirits and alcohol? Why would I want to destroy my peace of mind because somebody looked at me the wrong way? I mean, insanity of all. You start to realize, and you have that, what's called that shift, a shift in thinking, that God consciousness. What does step 12 says, having had that spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. But anyway, so on page 105, let's sum it up here. Bill says, perhaps one of the greatest rewards of meditation is prayer, is a sense of belonging that comes to us, being one with the universe. You ever hear of that? When we're in the addictions in the self, we're isolated, but you want to open up the whole world, nature and everything. I used to walk out of the house and be thinking of food or alcohol or people, the neighbor not liking me or looking at me the wrong way. Now the whole world opens up. I see now the sun when I wake up, and the beauty in nature and the trees, whatever. So it goes, we no longer live in a completely hostile world. The hostility, the hostile, people say, well, the world, and look at all the problems in the world and the people in the world and all these situations. It's in here. That's where the devil is here. He's not out there. Whatever people say or do or think is none of my business. So it says, we no longer lost and frightened and purposeless. Fear. Fear is a problem, the thread that goes through our lives. All of the self-centeredness creates fear. And purposelessness. When we look for material things, we have no purpose. God, when we get God consciousness, pray and meditate, our purpose is to be joyous, happy, and free, and to be and see patience and love, right? Love in everyone and everything around us. The moment we catch even a glimpse of God's will, here it's talking about a glimpse. It says here, Bill says on page 105, he says a glimpse, a little bit of faith, a little tiny, he's talking about a little glimpse. You want a big gobs of food, you want vodka, alcohol, you want people to like you, success, money. But here he's talking about a glimpse of God's will. The moment we begin to see truth, the word truth again, justice and love as the real and eternal things in life. So he's talking about love and truth. Those are the real eternal things. We no longer disturbed by the all seemingly evidence to the contrary that surround us in the purely human affairs. That's the human experience. We're in the human experience. You go out and enjoy life, but understand and smile and be happy and joyous, and understanding that the real happiness and joy and blissfulness comes from here. Don't throw it away by looking for it and trying to control people. People say, well, I want to have this person to love me and like me and look at me. That's being manipulated, and that's being in the self. We know that God's loving watches over us. We know that when we turn to him, be quiet and still, meditate and pray, all will be well with us here and hereafter. Okay, so it's talking about here in the present. It's talking about the present. Okay, hereafter, I guess it's talking about our death. But the thing is that we're in the eternal present, and when we're here, that's the answer. The solution is here. I read that chapter. There's a solution, the prayer, meditation. So if you're upset today, just get centered and realize it's not true what you're thinking. It's not true. Again, even your own death or your illness or whatever it is, or you're going to get an illness or the situation around us, whatever it is you're thinking about, or your mother-in-law, your spouse, your children. It's not true. It's not true. The joy and happiness is being centered and comes from within.